Just a bit about Wheelie Safe. I'm from the fleet industry. I'm originally from the bus and coach sector. Did my apprenticeship, went up through the food chain. I've been a fleet director in my past as well. But this kicked about and came about in 2014. I was an expert witness to a large court case down in London. Big well-known fleet, the group fleet director. They lost a wheel. It was actually a non-blameworthy case as it materialised. It was a torque wrench that had gone out of calibration. So the engineers had done everything as they should. The drivers done their walk round, but then wheel nuts were already loose before it left the site. Unfortunately, the wheel came off outside a children's school just as the kids were coming out the school. Fortunately, the wheel bounced off the parents' cars, so there was no serious injuries and, as I say, worst case fatalities. So the company had done all the procedures correctly. Unfortunately, that torque wrench, you couldn't legislate for that torque wrench going out of calibration. But when I came outside the courts, an old school friend, loved inventing things, told him about where I was and the situation. And I says, actually, you invent things. I told him about all the mechanical systems, which you're probably familiar with. And he said, has anybody thought of detecting the wheel loose and alerting the driver? And that's how this started back in 2014, and the journey that we've been on. So what we've got three technologies. We've got the first driver alert system in the world for wheel loss. We've also got the first driver alert system in the world for brake and hub temperatures, which is the biggest area for fires after the engine and number one on trailers. So we resolved that situation as well. And we've got a very unique tyre pressure monitoring system, which is the cash generator. So moving on slides, you're probably all familiar with these particular mechanical systems, and there's lots and lots out there. I've used about 90% of them on my fleets, and I'm not here to criticise these products. They have got a place. The unfortunate thing is they don't cover all scenarios. I've fitted all these and still had wheels come loose and wheels come detached. But now the two reasons why these occurrences happen is two big reasons, and they're in two big boxes, as I call it, which covers every single reason why a wheel comes off or a hub sets on fire. One is because of mechanical failure, and the two is because people haven't done the procedures correctly. So what we've done is we've come up with a system that acts as a final control measure that sits under those two big boxes and acts as a catch net. That if one of those boxes fall down, you're safe in the knowledge that the driver is getting advance notification. And now what we've developed now and what we're rolling out globally, due to the demand and the requests outside the UK, we've got full connectivity. So engineers, the office staff, everything's fully transparent, to the point being now that you can set our systems up. Not only does the driver get advanced notifications, the engineers now are getting advanced notifications before the driver even gets their preset alarms. So it's saving a fortune on breakdowns. But again, Andy will speak to you about the connected shortly. Now, I've got a few gory slides coming up just to show you the gravitas. And we didn't realise how bad it was. Obviously, we live on a little island. We didn't realise how bad the situation was outside the UK. But these are figures, documented figures within the UK. The unfortunate thing is, these are recorded incidents. I know, and our team have spoke to thousands of fleets over the years. And once they know where you're from, they open up and they do say, and I'll hold my hands up as well, I'm speaking from experience, if you can avoid reporting a wheel loosening or a wheel loss incident to the authorities, you will, because the last thing you want is them crawling all over your business. So I can tell you now, these reported figures, you can probably multiply by 3 or 4. Obviously the fatalities and things like that, you can't hide. but the wheel fixing defects is so much larger than what's reported. So moving on to the next slide. Now, I've put these in here. These are just some of the fatalities that are within the UK. But as I say, beyond the UK, it's even worse. I mean, we're well governed and regulated by the DVSA and the traffic commissioners, but accidents still happen wherever people are involved. And as I say, I've already hit you with the two scenarios, or there's mechanical failures involved. Things can happen. Just going back. So as I say, I've put them slides in there, but these are reported fatalities, unfortunately, that are out on the internet. The other interesting thing, and I've put this slide in, as we've been going to various inquiries outside the UK, you realise the full gravitas of how big wheel loss and hub fires are. Now, this particular slide illustrates, and I call it McDonaldization. Whatever happens in America usually happens everywhere else 3 to 5 years down the line. Now, in America, they're now in a situation where they've got specialist lawyers set up for wheel loss and hub fires. Now, this particular lawsuit was last year. It's the biggest recorded in America, which was $2.25 million settlement. And this was a family of 4, but there was no fatalities. They sustained serious injuries, avoiding the truck wheel. But it gives you a flavour of what potential is coming. We've got the no win, no fee solicitors and legals gathering pace within the UK. Litigation seems to be gathering pace. So, as I say, this is what's going on in America. In Canada, it's now in the majority of the states, it's an absolute liability law for any wheel loosening or wheel loss. Such is the problem over there. To a situation where it's fines of up to $50,000 just for loose wheel nuts. And a bit of good news for ourselves, and I can share this because it's out now. We've just been approved now for Japan. Such is the problem in Japan as well. We've been doing trials for a period of time, and the Japanese government now have approved our systems now for fitment in the Japanese fleet world, and they're funding our products to be fitted to the Japanese vehicles as well. So as I say, it's not just a problem within the UK; it's a massive global problem that we finally close. These are some of the reasons, and as I say, I'm sharing the slides with you. So as I say, I don't need death by PowerPoint. Which I've already alluded to. That particular picture, funny enough, where a truck wheel came off, fortunately, because I've seen the police, because I had to do a presentation to the Met Police, and they shared that photo with me. That particular incident, the gentleman who was driving was about to take his 4-year-old son, who was on the journey as well, but at the 11th hour, for whatever reason, he declined, and that particular truck wheel went straight through the window into the passenger side. The actual driver come away with just a few bumps and grazes, believe it or not. He was very lucky, but God knows what had happened to the child with that particular incident. Now, leading on to, that's the wheel loss side of the business. Another interesting problem that we finally resolve is hub fires. Now, I'm going to bring Geraint in, but I just want to quickly allude to this. There are situations, as I say, where this particular problem is more prevalent if you're not on top of your maintenance. Now, that particular picture's got a double-decker trailer. Now, we've designed a sensor specifically for double-decker trailers because the problem they've got is if they're not on top of the maintenance, you've got small wheels with heavier load on top, and it's putting a lot of strain and stress on the hub area. So as I say, that particular area is very prevalent, or can be more regular to having hub fires. I went to a situation last year, and it was a double-decker trailer, and the operator told me that he'd had the hub fire, and he could have fitted our low-cost system, which would have alerted him to the fact. We believe it was a bearing failure, but what had happened, he said the actual incident had run up a bill up to £1 million for him, because of the situation. He'd lost the load, he'd melted the motorway, the fire brigade came out to douse the fire, the water ran down into a culvert, so the guy had got environmental health all over him, the DVSA and the health and safety executive. But as I say, we can finally close that situation again now, because we've got something that covers every single reason behind that. But I know Geraint has got a particular real life situation to this from his former fleet days, so I'll pass over to Geraint if I can.
I got several real life situations from my fleet days. 22 years in road haulage with 100 and odd trucks and 220 odd trailers. But yeah, one with hub fires does come to mind, and it probably was about 20 years ago, something like that, before this sort of technology existed. And it was curtain-sided trailer carrying fire retardant or fire resistant insulation with fire safe insulation all over the trailer curtains. Newish trailer, and we always used genuine parts. Did all our own maintenance. We had our own workshops, our own time served technicians, fitters as they were back then. And this particular trailer is trundling along up the M6, not far from Sandbach Services, on its way up to Scotland, when the hub on the middle offside on the trailer, triaxle trailer, got so hot that it started a wheel tyre fire, which we have plastic mud wings on the trailer. Mud wings go up, the carrying trailer floor starts to go up, and the curtains advertising the said fire safe insulation starts to go up. Needless to say, we shut the M6 for best part of a day. Similar sort of costs, all told, to what was described earlier on, because you're not particularly popular when you shut the M6, and especially when it has to be resurfaced. Not a brilliant advert for our customer. And obviously, the trailer. Luckily, the driver had managed to uncouple the tracked unit in that time. And we had some forensics examinations on the trailer, and it was down to the design of that particular hub, which was prone to a particular type of bearing failure at that time, because we showed the brake linings and everything else that we were fitting, and all that kind of thing. So if we had that type of technology, it would have prevented that type of incident. And luckily nobody was injured or killed, and a bearing failure or an issue with the hub could easily result in a wheel loss event. Something else which I experienced when I was actually driving a rigid, when I looked in my near side mirrors as I'm driving down the motorway, and the twin back wheels and the half shaft are coming out. And I thought, oh, they look rather familiar. I better stop. So stop on the hard shoulder, and that was a catastrophic wheel bearing failure. So again, this particular type of technology would have prevented that, because we would have had the foresight to, me as a driver, and also the office as well. And with wheel loss events or incidents, even just loose wheelness, you get stopped at a roadside encounter, that's going to be an S Mark PG9, and then you're going to have a visit from the DVSA, an MIVR, and then if there are any other issues, the likelihood is you're going to end up a public inquiry. Like I said, I could talk all day about this, so back to you.
Thanks, Geraint. As I say, it's all too familiar, but as I say, with what we're bringing, we've got you'll be pleased to know we are hitting the market with some very competitively priced products. But the beauty is now we're making it fully transparent, taking it away from the cab area, as well as the driver getting the alarm. You having the facility to manage the situation remotely as well has been a bit of a game changer for us. But as I say, there's lots of commercial benefits to the products, which Andy and his team can explain. All the details are on the last slide for you to follow up. The other cash cow as well is the tyre and pressure monitoring system. The one thing I always say, even if you didn't have our system, is get yourself a TPMS system. It's the biggest cash cow going. I didn't realise the gravitas behind it, and as I say, I've run thousands of vehicles. God knows how much money I've cost the businesses I've been working for previously by not optimising the tyre pressures, reducing the life, and obviously the fuel wastage by running tyres on low pressure. Could be well, it must be astronomical. So these, as I say, these are all things to move on with. So just moving on, I can talk to you about all the monitoring system and the sensors, which we can explain. If you want, if an interest, we can delve into these more, but I don't want to miss the juicy part of the presentation, which is the connected side. So this particular slide shows the receiver in the driver's cab, and it gives you all the alarms, the additional benefits. One of the things that we have got, we presented it to the DVSA as well. We have got a walk round feature as well, which we've recently added a few months back, which Andy can explain when he's talking about the connected. We've also got some additional very low cost accessories for your drivers and your engineers. Again, we can delve more into those once you've come back to us. But I want to move on to the major part now. Now we've taken it away from the driver only system after many years, which is the Wheelie Safe Connect system. So I'll pass this over to Andy now, if I can. Will you be bringing your microphones off, Andy? Will you be bringing in the connected slide, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll do it now. So if you come off.
All right. Stop sharing.
Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for your time. Okay, so what you'll be able to access from the vehicle, and this is one of our development partners, so they're quite happy for us to share this information. It's a very simple T-card system, and because of our background, we've designed it in such a way that it's only going to sort of report a problem when you need to know. There's a lot of more information behind the slides or the dashboard, sorry, but generally you'll get an alert which will come through on an email, and it'll also come through on the screen when there's a problem you need to deal with. So as an example, if we click on a vehicle, we've got a typical 4x2 rigid here as an example. This has got 6 TPMS sensors, and it's got 8 wheel loss sensors, so 2 on every outer wheel. And as you can see listed here on the left hand side is the summary of the tire pressure monitoring sensors. Now we have got the capability of putting these sensors into a location, and that's a choice you can make locally. They will normally come displayed with an ID number, which you can then add the wheel location as a click of a button. The tire pressure monitoring sensors work in a way where you blow your tires up to the correct pressure at cold, and then when you put the sensor on to the correct pressure, you'll get this green line on your dashboard. I hope you can all see that. That will give the optimum pressure that the operator would like to run this vehicle at. These blue squiggly lines are temperatures or pressure changes due to temperature. And as the vehicle goes on its journey, they will fluctuate. If they were to drop by 12% of the calibrated pressure you fitted them to, then you would get what we call a maintenance alarm. If this line breaks the red line, which is a 20% line, you would then get what's called a critical. You have got the capability of actually organising these parameters. So I can't get there's an opportunity there where we demonstrate this to you. You can actually change the parameters of the alarms. The ones that are set there are the sort of standard 12 and 20%. You can change them to whatever suits your operation or your business. In this column, we've got the current temperature of the tyre, and then we've got the battery life of the sensor. again, all of these will send a message to you if there's a potential problem. So, for instance, if you've got a pressure that's dropping slightly, you can look at that and make a decision of whether that's going to complete the journey before it becomes a vehicle, before it becomes unsafe or it becomes unusable as a vehicle. Now, you'll see at the top, Gary mentioned earlier about there's an option. Our accessories, if they're used on the TPMS sensors, whatever time as a vehicle check, this will be recorded and we can tell whether the vehicle's been checked in the last 24 hours, and that is auditable. So that if we want to look at a vehicle that may have had an incident, we can look back at the data and prove that a driver did a walk around and at the time the tyre was in a serviceable condition. The box itself will update every 30 minutes unless there's a problem, and then it's every 3 hours when the vehicle's stationary. So we can still get data coming through during the evening and the early hours so that you can identify a problem before the vehicle was due to be used out in service. Pretty simple. Just to give you an idea on costs, the entry level is about £3.30 per month per vehicle to get this data. So it's not expensive. It's a low cost data system we supply. It's purely about the sensors and getting the information that we're interested in. You could share this dashboard can be shared by as many people as you want in the team, and also the alerts can go to as many operatives with the business as you wish. Okay, I think that's it. Just stop sharing that. Is that back to normal?
Yep. Thanks, Andy. So I'll go back to sharing my screen. Bear with me. Through. Is that back on, yeah? Okay. So I'll just get back to the connected stuff where Andy came in. So as Andy said and illustrated, everything we do is simple. Me and Andy and a lot of the team are all from the fleet sector ourselves. So I used to, one of the groups I worked for, I employed a permanent telematics person who was just looking at TV screens. Didn't need to. You only want to know. You can. We do offer drill down reports. You can micromanage your vehicles as much as you want to, but everything's simple. We have a simple screen that offers alarms either on your computer or on your phone. You'll get an email. It's entirely up to yourself. And as I say, that's years of our fleet experience and speaking to a lot of fleet people, the issues they've had with some of the telematics screens. So simple's best with all of us. Hence why the products that we've developed, we've worked tirelessly on making sure that they're very easy to use and very easy to fit. The other beauty with the systems, for example, our TPMS sensors, we designed them as a retrofit, which do have OEM applications, telematics applications. But when I used to cascade a vehicle out my fleet, the OEM system, it used to go away with the vehicle. With ours is a plug and play system. So when you've purchased the products, they're yours for life. We're not a telematics company. The products, the data cost is just a means to an end for us. That is cost. We're about to integrate with a lot of major telematics companies. So we don't want to be seen as a telematics company, but you've got that facility if you haven't got telematics, that you get in the data at cost. Or on the flip side, we can integrate with any telematics company, which is what we're doing. We've got lots of ways and means of getting that data to the cloud or to your computer screen. So as I say, if you want these sensors bolted into your existing telematics profile, we can do that. It's just a matter of speaking to Andy and the team, and then we can progress it from there. So just moving on, as Andy's already said, these are obviously where the sensors will fit. We fit 2 wheel loss sensors per outer wheel, and there's 2 reasons for that. One is for balance, and the other is if the bracket sits under the wheel nuts, and it covers 2 wheel nuts. So if 2 sensors which are fitted opposite each other, if those 2 sensors are not alarming, that wheel's not coming off, because the fact of them 4 wheel nuts are covered. We've got a situation in some sectors where, I mean, it's exploded for us in the off-road industry, and I think that's down because the terrain they operate on, they're more susceptible to wheels coming loose than somebody driving their vehicle on a normal tarmac road. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff in areas. I know Holly's on the call. We're doing a lot of stuff in the Australian and New Zealand market, and in parts of Saudi Arabia, purely because of the terrain that they operate in. Like for Australia, it's going across the outback. So as I say, they're suffering wheel loosening quite substantial in some parts. We had a leading tyre manufacturer said to us that we've been in discussions with, that wheel loss is now their number 1 risk in that particular territory. So moving on, when we come out to fit the connected, well, we don't fit the connected system. It's easily connected by your engineers, but we do the training. Just a matter of fitting a box and the in-cab display and then the sensors. And then what happens is that little M2C box, as we call it, machine to cloud, it gathers the data from the sensors and flicks it up into the cloud, and we either connect to your existing telematics provider through API, or you come through our system if that's your preferred route. And then, as Andy's already alluded to, from that you get all the data. Now, just finishing off, these are some of the accessories that we offer. The little key ring at the bottom is our walk round checker. It allows a driver, for the first time ever, to now check tyre pressures on their pre-use check. Now, tyres are the biggest cause of breakdowns globally. So now all of a sudden you can check tyre pressures, even though we've got our sensors monitoring the data as well. But what we're allowing the driver to do is activate the sensor, and it works on a traffic light system, that key ring. It either goes green, amber or red. Green means the tyre's good to go because it's still within the pressure you set it at. Amber, as Andy said, it's dropped 12%, or if it's red, it's dropped 20% or more. But what it does, once the driver has checked all the TPMS sensors, it activates on the it activates to say back at the office that the driver has undertook a full walk round check, because they've had to physically activate the TPMS sensors. Now, I used to do gate checks with my fleet managers, purely because, as you know, and I used to argue the toss with the traffic commissioners on this, and fair play to them. I'm not saying it was down to me, but they realised that the driver has a duty of care just as much as the operator, because it used to grieve me the fact that when that vehicle leaves the yard, goes down the road and gets pulled by the DVSA, you find a driver related defect, it goes onto your what's the school under
OCRS.
Your OCRS score, that's sorry, yeah, goes onto your OCRS score, which used to grieve me because I could be a green operator flipping into amber on the back of a driver not undertaking their duties. So, as I say, I know that the traffic commissioners have brought in the graduated fixed penalties and points on your licence, but now we've got a situation where we can prove that the driver's physically activated sensors and walk around the vehicle. Because I used to watch them in the rain, they'd just be ticking the book to say they've undertook the walk round. So, as I say, we've got that facility now. So these are some of the remote reports that you get from the system that Andy's mentioned. These are obviously when there's an alarm state, you can flip the report where you just have it where you only get the alarms on that particular screen. It's entirely up to you. We've made the screens totally friendly and interchangeable to what your requirements are. And as I say, Andy's already alluded to the sensor data. Just finishing off now, these are all the sectors we're operating in. It's just gone, well, fundamentally, it's anything with a wheel, commercial vehicle wise. We're in absolutely every sector in different guises. But now, as I say, we're undertaking a program now of going global with the products. Now we've got full connectivity, and we're doing that through various streams, through partners, distributors, and telematics providers that are already in different parts of the world. Couple of things that we have got, just finishing off, it's a bit of good news stories. We're one of only a couple of fleet safety products that have been accredited by the DVSA. It's never happened before. It's never going to happen again because they've shut that window. But it's a bit of a stamp of approval of where we are. I think we were recognised because of this, because we finally closed wheel loss and hub fires for good. And I don't know, people on this webinar, if anybody's anything to do with dangerous goods vehicles, we've now got ATEX certification, which is a globally recognised certification for dangerous goods fleets. So all our sensors now have been certified for operation in dangerous goods environments, whether it be oil, gas, petroleum. So that's something else that we're pursuing globally. And that's it, folks. I've got Andy's details on there and his contact details. So as I say, I'll share the slides with you, or Holly will share the slides and the presentation. So if you've got any inquiries or you need any demos, Andy's the person to contact. So any questions from anybody?
Thanks so much, Gary.
Have you got any in the chat?
I actually put a question in there, so I'll just read that one out. What is the best way to introduce new safety tech like Wheelie Safe to drivers who may be resistant to change?
Well, from my perspective, from a driver's perspective, we had to do, I mean, when we first introduced the walk round checker, it was a case of we went into a unionised organisation, and the first thing that came out of it, the union guys' mouth was to say, "Oh, here we go again, big brother, you're keeping an eye on us." And I said, no. I said, from my situation, tyres and wheels now are the #1 cause of breakdowns and obviously accidents on commercial vehicles. I've got a situation now where we can prove, and the driver can prove by a little key ring and the activation system, that they've undertook the walk round check, and the system is alerting to the fact that everything's okay with the tyres and wheels. So because the corporate manslaughter bill changed, where if there's the fall down in the procedures and policies, then certain people will be dealt with. Well, now we've covered their backside, and not only that, we're also protecting the person in the cab with additional safety benefits. So that's how I would react to that situation, and that's how we have reacted. And the union person said, "I take it on board. Let's get it into the fleet." So
yeah, definitely, Andy. You know, this has been a hard nut to crack. You know, I've been in the fleet industry for 25 years myself. I was at John Raymond Transport 22, and latterly when it was taken over by the Nolan Group. But I've been involved with the Institute of Road Transport Engineers. I've been to various events where people have put out guidance. The IRT put out guidance 20 years ago, and yet incidents still occur. There's still problems, and I remember, you mentioned the incident with that torque wrench. That resonated with me because you can have the best systems in the world. All the technicians were ERTEC accredited. The workshop was IRT approved. We had all the ISO badges. We were Force Gold, and everything was correct. The torque wrenches were all calibrated. And yeah, the workshop IRT accredited, like I said. And yeah, I had a phone call. Then driver gets stopped at the Caldera at Newport DVSA checkpoint, and loose wheel nuts. Well, how can that possibly be? And we checked on the app because we had quite a good daily check app, and we could see the pictures of the wheel nut indicators, and they become loose on the near side drive axle of that DAF XF during the course of that day, and that was put down. We did some investigations, and that was the actual torque wrench that had gone out of calibration. And I went up there because I knew the gravity of what could have gone wrong. My name was on the operator's license, so I had a vested interest in it, and that could easily have been an S-mark prohibition. They didn't put an S-mark prohibition on it, but the thing to consider as well is any loose wheel nut event like that, I would replace the hub as well, because that entire fixing has been compromised. So now you're not just, people think you can just dog them up again, torque them up again. No, because it's been run loose, that mating face on that spigot has been wearing. Whenever you put you could put a new rim on it. And because the hub is now compromised, you've got to change the hub as well. So you're into probably £1.5 grand, and that's doing it in your own workshops. So, and if it had been an S-mark prohibition, could have been a preliminary public inquiry, or even a public inquiry, all for the sake of a wheel nut. And the consequences of a wheel loss incident are horrific. I remember one that was near here involving I can mention it was in the public domain, Unigate, the dairies back in the day, and the driver actually lost a wheel off a trailer. And it actually went through somebody's windscreen and caused a fatality. And the driver didn't even notice that he lost the wheel. And that particular incident, that's probably 20 years ago, something like that, maybe more now. And the driver didn't notice that he was missing a wheel off the trailer until he got to Swansea. And then it was the fitter. I think the fitter actually did time for it. And I think the driver was quite close to retirement as well. It was quite a serious incident at that time, and obviously somebody's lost their life there.
Yeah, it's interesting, Geraint. One of the ones, as I say, the two boxes, as I said, it's people not doing the procedures correctly and mechanical failure. And one of the ones that I got was down to a fitter putting the wrong wheel location in the 24-hour wheel book, so they retorqued the wrong wheel. The others were mechanical failures, but we have seen an inclination and spike within the UK over the last couple of years at certain times of the year, and we think it's down to the potholes, where wheels are obviously fatigued and go down potholes, which snap studs and either start the wheel loosening procedure. So as I say, we are seeing spikes in certain sectors, and obviously conditions and times of the year in the UK. I mean, generally it's accentuated predominantly more, well, as I thought, so more so during colder climates, where you've got the heat of the brakes and the cold temperatures outside, which cause the wheels, the rims to expand and contract, so them nuts and bolts all come loose. I mean, we're very big in Iceland, believe it or not, which we've done a lot of, because they suffer massively with wheel. But on the flip side, it's prominent in warmer climates as well. Again, we think that's down to potentially terrains, but it may be down to the heat as well. So in places like Australia, in the outback, and in Saudi Arabia, where we're fitting out fleets. So yeah, it's interesting. But as I say, we take people out, and we take the mechanical failures out by putting that catch net in. As I say, you can't legislate for people.
No, human factors.
Everybody forgets, and as I say, the calibrated torque wrench, that was just totally unfortunate. But these things happen. So as I say, we've took everything out and put that final control measure in place. You're safe in the knowledge when your pillar heads hit the pillar. Then wheels, if there's a situation occurring in the tyre and wheels area, you're getting advance alarms either to the office or to the driver. before it becomes a catastrophic failure.
Mm. Thanks, Gary. That's really interesting. Sorry, Gary, I just have one question. So how long does it typically take to install Wheelie Safe across a fleet?
And did you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, it all depends on which part of the system you're having. So if you're having tire pressure monitoring on a typical 4x2 rigid, you're talking probably about an hour at the most. If it's wheel loss as well, 2 hours at most. But once you've fitted one vehicle, you'll find a simple route fitting it, and you'll probably bring that down to an hour and a half for
Wow,
a
that's
typical.
really fast.
It's not a long process, depending on the state of your wheels and tyres when you actually commence fitment. Okay.
That's incredibly quick. Does anybody have any final questions for Andy and Gary just before we close the webinar? Or Geraint?
Yeah.
Let's wait a few more moments. Was there any closing remarks from anyone?
As in ourselves, or are you waiting for the?
Sure, if you would like to say anything.
Yeah.
No. I just, as I say, I just want to thank everybody for attending. As I say, going back to thanking for FORS, it's a great recognition scheme, and well done to all you operators who are on that landscape for meeting that accreditation. It's showing, as I say, knowing my previous role, I used to attend a lot of public inquiries which was part of our previous business, representing operators who run into difficulty. I think it's a proof in your standing that you want to take your business to another level. So well done to all of you.